All right, this is your summary for section 2. So it first talks about women. So women had different rights and roles in each city-state. Poor women worked outdoors on farms or sold goods in markets. In city-states, women from richer families were expected to stay at home while the men took part in public life. In Sparta, which was a city-state, women enjoyed more rights and freedoms. They were educated and were trained in sports. So early city-states were controlled by aristocrats or kings. Farmers who owned large areas of land enjoyed a relatively high status or rank in society. Many citizens were small farmers, though. So those large farmers or farmers who owned a large area of land, they had a high status, but there weren't that many of them. A lot of them were small farmers. And then on a lower social scale were tenant farmers, which were people who paid rent and rent either in money or crops. So those tenant farmers, they were people who paid rent either in money or crops. They were also called thetes. The lowest class were the slaves. Some were prisoners of war or they were bought and sold. So slaves were either prisoners of war or they were bought or sold. Some city-states obtained more land and resources by conquering their neighbors. Some Greeks sailed off to find new land. The ideal site for a colony was on the coast. If they were on the coast, sailors could anchor their ships there and set up a port for trading with other ports. In 650 BC, the kings of Lydia began making the world's first gold and silver coins. Now, Lydia is in modern-day Turkey. So that wasn't in Greece, but once they saw this, city-states in Greece started doing this. So each city-state in Greece stamped its coins with symbols of the city or an image of the god or goddess who protected them. This kind of symbolizes where it came from. Coins made trade easier. Trade made the city-state of Athens rich. They traded for materials they lacked, and customs and ideas came from trade as well. So they traded for materials they lacked. So if you go back to section 1, it talks about how there was not many farmland because there were a bunch of mountain ranges. So since they didn't have those types of resources, they traded like it was olive oil and wine were their two big trading goods because that's what they made the most of. They had a high abundance of that. So they traded that off for things like different types of food, timber for wood, and different things like that because they didn't have those they didn't have access to those. So they traded what they had a lot of to get something that they did not have a lot of. So if you're using your vocabulary terms, surplus means something that you have a lot of. Scarcity is something that you do not have a lot of. So they took their surplus and traded it for something they had a scarcity of. Like always, if you have any questions, just let me know. I want you to read that section, take that quiz. But if you have any questions, just let me know.